Hey guys, welcome to another episode of SEO on Air. Today we have Mr. Jake Fox. He's the search optimization specialist from Revenue River. Hi Jake, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sentinel. Thank you so much.
Great guys, to give you an introduction of Mr. Fox. So he's from Colorado. He's an adventure freak. He in fact moved to Colorado because of that. He's been doing digital marketing for the last 5+ years. He's a HubSpot inbound certified professional, and his specialties include on-site and off-site search engine optimization. And he's really good in marketing strategy. He's been an entrepreneur himself in the past, and he's also good in creative solutions. So the one thing that I really like about Jake is that he hates jargons. He breaks down things into simple perspectives because he believes that jargon is for losers. The main thing about the business is making people understand stuff in a pretty simple terms. And in fact, that is itself the topic of this podcast itself. So it's going to be Jargon Busters 2020. Jake, you're in.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Great. So, Jake, you understand, I mean, you've been doing SEO for a long time now. You've been freelancing for a while, you've been working with companies. So, a lot of things you've been doing. And I'm pretty sure working with customers, there'll be like a lot of questions related to, the technical stuff that they always, look up to and come back to you and ask, hey, Jake, what is this about? And what is that about? So there'll be a lot of jargons being asked. So, why is this SEO industry full of jargons?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that a lot of the reason there's so much jargon in the world of SEO comes down to the fact that there are so many precise rules and parameters that folks have to follow when implementing different parts of an SEO strategy. So a real easy example of this is with metadata. So your title tags and your meta descriptions, those are going to have specific character counts, guidelines that Google has laid out. And just through that process, we see a lot of jargon come up. And I like to make a point, especially when working with clients, to try to explain or demystify those jargon aspects because it really doesn't have to be as complicated as perhaps the jargon makes it sound.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to SEO, there are a lot of stuff like you mentioned, the metadata. That's the holy grail because even though if you rank well, still people have to click on the particular search result and come to your website. So the title and description, it's always overlooked upon. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things into it. When it comes to SEO, there is on-site, offsite SEO, technical optimization. There's a lot of things. We'll be breaking everything down in a bit. So what's your thoughts on that, Jake? So what do you think, the main aspects that any industry owner, when they are doing SEO for the first time, or when they're approaching to learn about SEO, what are the core things which people have to understand as a basic?
Yeah, I absolutely love the way that's broken down. I think that when you look at SEO as a whole, it can be a little overwhelming. And so when you start to break it down into smaller components with on-site optimization, doing off-site optimization, and other technical aspects, it's a little bit easier to understand. And so looking at each of those three different aspects, I would say that the most important is going to lie with your on-site optimization. You really want to make sure you have the right messaging and you're targeting the right keywords that your audience is going to be attracted to. And so that can go into a bunch of different tactics. Metadata is a great example of one in particular for the on-site optimization. In terms of off-site optimization, I think that is can be easily thought of as the referrals from other websites back towards your website. And so this is a particularly important task for local businesses with things like Google My Business, but just generally speaking with backlinks and building out those links. Those are two key components of offsite optimization. And then perhaps the most jargon full aspect would be technical optimization. And that's where you get into a lot closer to the web development side of things, but it has such a big impact on SEO. It's critical that business owners and web developers are aware of those things. And that can include anything like making sure you have good website speed or following the correct protocols with a secure certificate and different aspects like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in technical SEO there's going to be a lot of talk coming around it. Because people have the habit of getting free technical audits or free SEO audits done, and there's loads of tools out there. And then you get a bunch of things saying that your metadata is like this, you lack H1 tags, the SSL, the redirects. There's a lot of things, isn't it? So, what are some of the common things that people should be aware of when they're looking at these technical SEO?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to emphasize the need for mobile first indexing. And so this is a process where Google is really encouraging site owners to focus on mobile first. You want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly because of the huge increase in the amount of traffic that's coming from mobile these days versus desktops. And so that would definitely be, a high priority on the list. Another important aspect with regards to technical SEO would be site speeds. And
Yeah.
this has two factors. It really plays into a good user experience. I believe it's only around 2 or 3 seconds that a user is going to wait for a page to load before they bounce off that page. So definitely want to increase your site speeds for that user experience, but also it can help with Google crawling your website so that they get a proper understanding and the algorithm really understands what your website's about so it can provide those results to relevant users. Another important technical SEO aspect I would encourage business owners to take into consideration is the secure protocol for their domain.
Right.
Google's spent a lot of energy in emphasizing the importance of having the HTTPS protocol implemented across your site.
Right.
And they've even taken this a step further where they will, with a giant warning in the top of a user's browser if the site is not secure. So that's another aspect that business owners will want to be aware of.
Yeah, yeah, Jake. That's a great point. In fact, when you're mentioning about the amount of effort, or the thing that Google emphasizes on the crawling and all the other things, I think even in fact last year the BERT algorithm, it was like everybody was talking about it. If you look at it, even the non-techies, they just Google it out and pick up that bycoder and encoder and blah blah blah, and they just want to show off that they know the technical skills. But yeah, SEOs, I mean, what I've seen in the past, Jake, is that SEOs want to tend to show up in terms of they know more technical stuff. But the game here is more of a content game, right? Because, I think in one of the discussions that we had before, I think we discussed about the quantity, the quality, the content is still the king. So I think 70% of the game in SEO is with the content, right?
Yeah, that's definitely going to play a huge part in it. You have to make sure that you have relevant content for your users, and as you said, content is king. So it definitely plays an important part.
Yeah. So what is that? The BERT. How do we break this down for a layman to understand what is this algorithm about, or so what is this regarding?
Yeah, the bird update was an exciting one that introduced natural language processing to the Google algorithm. And so basically, this would allow Google to understand search queries and really starts to dial into search intent for users. So, what is the user's end goal? What is their intent with their particular search query? And as Google has introduced the BERT algorithm and started to use natural language processing more, we're seeing a lot of the old tactics such as keyword stuffing or just having such a big emphasis on that start to fade because now Google is able to take the context of a sentence and really understand more than just the keywords within it. I think that a particularly great example of this can come from I went to the beach and was by the bank of the shore,
Mhm.
When Google sees a sentence like that, it can easily decipher with the context of beach in the sentence that you're referring to a bank as like a near a waterfront as opposed to like a financial institution,
Right.
and that is natural language processing at its core.
Yeah. So you don't have to load up your content saying that beach, you're on the beach, 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 bank. Rather than
Yeah.
that, just a simple, you're on the beach and you're the bank, and that's it. The connection is established. Yeah. Either ways, I think they're saving more time for the people, because now that previously the SEOs will be telling you like, hey, the keyword density is not here. You have to connect this with that. For example, the famous example they do is for the Apple. If you are selling the Apple mobile covers, and then you have to always relate it to mobile phones, accessories, and all the other things. And I think a lot of such things come into the picture. So yeah, this has pretty much solved that issue. And also, I believe the big issue that the content team usually faces is the plagiarism and the duplicate content. That is something, two major things that gets used interchangeably, but they aren't the same, right? So is there a major difference between that?
Yeah, from an SEO perspective, there is quite a bit of a difference between plagiarism and duplicate content. I
Mhm.
would say that plagiarism can be a copyright infringement, so that can lead to a host of other problems off
Right.
your site. But in terms of duplicate content, that can actually be caused by technical errors. So if for example your website has multiple versions of the homepage where one version is using www dot and another version is not,
Mhm.
that can cause duplicate content errors in the search algorithm and other aspects like the HTTPS protocol, and ensuring that that's forced across your website so that Google knows exactly what page to show. If you can imagine having a home page with a bunch of different varieties, some including the secure protocol, some having the unsecure protocol, some
Mhm.
including the www dot, that really confuses search engines. And
Yeah.
so our job is in SEO is to make sure we're letting the algorithm know which content is preferred with canonical tags, and uh, that will clear up any duplicate content issues in regards to the technical aspect.
Right.
Another interesting point to talk about here too, I would say, is syndicating content, which has gotten fairly popular over the years, especially for websites related to the news or
Yeah.
different things like that. And that's definitely can be an acceptable practice.
Mhm.
That can You can still avoid the duplicate content or plagiarism issues as long as you have the proper sources and notations in the content.
Right. So yeah, so that's great to know. So we have briefly touched upon the on-site, the technical bits. There is one little guy there, the off-site optimization, wherein there's a lot of link building. I mean, there's quite a lot of outreach being done, and people used to classify based on the spam score, based on the DA from domain ratings, DR, and then the domain score that is made popular these days by Uber Suggest. So what is a popular metric, or maybe what is the metric that you use, while or you suggest, to people to follow and get a real deal in terms of link building in a safer way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that the domain rank and domain score have been popular metrics in the past that webmasters and SEO specialists have used as a guideline for building backlinks. I
Mhm.
think as we've seen Google evolve and become better at understanding search queries, we're
Mhm.
starting to steer further away from those scores. I do know that Google does not use domain score for direct ranking factors.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think when it comes into consideration for link building, there's two things webmasters should focus on, and that's going to be focusing on the relevancy. So, how relevant is the site that you're targeting going to be for your audience? And
Right.
that's where you can really find some gems for link building.
Mhm.
I also think that generally speaking, domain scores aren't necessarily used for a ranking factor, but there's still a good rule of thumb to guide folks towards their link building strategies. And really, what I emphasize is avoiding toxic links. You
Mhm.
don't want to have your website showing up on any sort of scraped websites or things like that. And so it's best to avoid those when you're looking to build that outreach strategy.
Right. Great, Jake. That's a great info to take out with. So the main thing that you are suggesting is the relevancy, and second thing is the toxic links. So is that website has more toxic links, so better stay away from it. These are the two main metrics that you would suggest, right, while building links.
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. So Jake, you've been doing a lot of stuff online. You've ranked a lot of websites. So can you show, can you just tell some of the SEO tricks? I know there is a lot of tricks under your sleeve, but is there, some white hat hacks, that people who's listening to the show, they can take away with, in terms of some few, simple to use tricks that people can do to improve their rankings?
Yeah, that's a great question. And just continuing with offsite optimization, I think one of the key aspects that's overlooked is going to be leveraging existing real world relationships.
Mhm.
I noticed that a lot of specialists in SEO will focus on doing outreach strategies, and they really fail to take into consideration the already established relationships that a business has. So I think a really great approach would be to understand the relationships that a business already has, and this could be with customers, partners, suppliers, different things like that, that you can then leverage that relationship to start doing a link building campaign.
Mhm.
And that can be really effective because you already have the groundwork laid out and the relationship established. So you're kind of starting on step two instead of trying to build from scratch.
Mhm.
Um, in
Yeah.
terms of
In fact,
on-site.
Jake, when you mention about the relationship, one thing that I can quickly recollect is that there is one podcast, one episode that we did few episodes back with a person called Roman. So he, in fact, mentioned the same thing. So when we mentioned that, do you think link building is important? And he mentioned that, probably I would rather say it as a relationship building because that's where more important. Don't let's not call it as blindly as link building. So the interesting point here is I can see the connect. So here also, I'm not sure if you know Roman before, but you're also bringing the same angle into it, the relationship building. So that's quite important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful to hear other folks are spreading a similar message. I
Yeah.
think that sometimes we get stuck in our digital lane
Yeah.
in SEO, and it's always good to take into consideration the real world.
Yes. Great. So yes, so that the number one thing is relationships, building the relationships. And is there anything else?
Yeah, I think that something that I've been particularly excited about, especially when working on larger websites with hundreds of thousands of pages or millions of pages, can be quite overwhelming on how you are going to optimize all those different pages across the site. And
Right.
so taking an approach where you try to automate different aspects of that process, I think can be very powerful. And this can be done with on-site logic, with help from a developer. It also can be done with simple Excel formulas and just crafting the content to where you can get a wide enough scope, but
Mhm.
still have unique content across those different pages, depending on what type of assets you're able to work with. For example, maybe the page headers across all these hundreds of thousands of different pages are unique, and then taking that input and using a little bit of formulas to create some more unique content out
Yeah.
of it.
Great. So any SEO out there should befriend a good technical guy as well, so that he's going to help you with the automation.
Yeah, that is key. It is key.
Yeah. Great. So where do you see from here, Jake? So how is the SEO thing headed? So there are quite a lot of updates now that previously, there is a lot of algorithm updates. Even now, there's a lot of things happening, but now that everything is switched to AI based, so a lot of things are going on. The voice search, now that the featured snippets are dominating, a lot of changes in the SERPs happening around. The user couldn't even differentiate between an organic and a paid, results in the SERPs. So there's a lot of things going on. And so where do you think the future of SEO is headed to?
Yeah, that's an exciting topic. I think that we will continue to see Google push mobile first. I
Mhm.
think that the age of the desktop is in decline, and we're really starting to see the age of the mobile device become more prominent in the world of SEO. With that, I also think that we are going to see Google continue down the path in a similar style to the BERT update with natural language processing, and we'll see more of an emphasis on user intent and really starting to dial in the results that are given to users based on the intent of their search. So I
Mhm.
think that is going to be another big topic and opportunity for those on the cutting edge of things to get ahead of.
Right, great. Great, Jake. Some interesting points there. So now that there is like a lot of talk about COVID, and there is globally the restaurant, the travel industry, the construction industry. So a lot of things are going on, and I'm pretty sure people will be looking at getting their marketing activities right, or getting their strategy set up right in these stages. So is there anything that you would like to share with our audience? Is there any case study that you have that is in the international construction kind of kind of an industry? If you could share a few insights around it, it should be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're correct. We are going to see more companies take a closer look, especially at their digital marketing efforts that has been emphasized so much during the hard times that COVID has brought the world,
Mhm.
and really having forcing business owners to dial in their digital marketing strategies, because things like events and in-person marketing just aren't going to be viable for
Yeah,
a little bit longer into the future.
yeah.
With that said, we do have a fantastic case study to
Mhm.
help. We helped an international construction firm
Mhm.
as they launched a satellite operation, if you will, in
Mhm.
America,
Mhm.
and just the different tactics we keep products in the market and really focus on finding target keywords in tune with the buyer's journey for their potential customers. And I think having those different aspects of SEO and then generally speaking marketing with buyer personas and buyer journeys
Mhm.
all tied together are going to be uh, more important than ever.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to say we have a great case study that highlights the intricacies of that very well.
Great. So what do you guys achieved for that company? Is there any real in terms of any percentage increase or something like that that's available? Would you like to share it with our users?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see kind of the nitty gritty percentages of growth online with our case study.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So
pulling a
don't worry,
few.
folks. Don't worry. We are going to link up to that case study. You're going to read that completely. I am lucky enough to, see through that completely. There's a lot of some interesting insights out there. Yes, Jake. So maybe, we'll link out to that case study. People can read through it.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And you can see how we increased traffic over 250% for that company, and really led to some great results there.
So 250 percentage increase for a company which is sorry. So for a company which is having a satellite office, which is just launching in America, right?
That's correct.
That's a lot. Wow, that's great. So yeah, so I think we'll link out to that case study. You have covered in depth about what are the things that you've done. So you've increased their brand awareness, you've improved their organic search rankings, and the traffic has literally gone up by 258%. So yeah, I think we'll link out to that. So people who are listening to this podcast, do check out. We'll share a few links that is shared by Jake, so you guys can go through it. And if you guys have any doubts or any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to Jake through his website. So he's working for Revenue River, so you can always reach out to them. They're a great company. I've interacted with quite a lot of people from Revenue River. They have a great leadership as well. So so it's quite good. So it's a good case study. You guys can go through it. Jake, so anything else? I think we have covered a lot. I'm pretty sure someone listening to it, they would have a lot of key things to take over. And yeah, so is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think we've done a great job with a nice overview here. Hopefully, we have cleared up some of the jargon within SEO,
Mhm.
and I encourage anyone that has questions or is interested in how SEO can help their business to contact me. Love to help out there.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jake. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been a great discussion. So we'll be following it up with a blog post around this topic, and hopefully people can read through it, and also they can go through the case study that you mentioned during the podcast. Right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And thank you so much for taking the time today. And thank